Hey guys, this video is mainly going to be for me, but it's possible that some people also may find it, I don't know, entertaining or useful or whatever. I'm going to talk about the inner pool player, what I always call Obi-Wan Moscone, because that's the name we came up with in the 80s. And so, you know, some viewers might be like, well, this is some crack smoking hippie shit here, we're not going to deal with this. And that's perfectly fine. Everybody is entitled to their opinions. I've even shared that opinion at times. But, you know, if you don't want to hear about the inner pool player stuff, you know, find yourself a science guy and watch his videos. Dr. Dave has some really good stuff. I've bought, I think, everything he's put out. And he's got a lot of free stuff too. Science guy, watch that shit. A lot of it's even factual. If you want to watch videos about the inner pool player, you know, you go watch mine. I know David Saplis had a bunch of stuff out there about inner pool player stuff. I don't remember if his stuff was for sale or free. I don't recall. But anyway, I don't know why I'm Dave and Dr. Dave and David Saplis. Maybe I have some type of a bias towards the name, not sure. So back in what I've just kind of always called my heyday, which is when I was in my early 20s, late 80s, early 90s, I played at a bar in League in Omaha called the Shanty. And then when I moved to the Seattle area, I played in League in a bar. I played in a couple bars in that area, but mainly the sports pub. So you guys may hear or may have heard me talk about the sports pub days or the shanty days or the sports pub style or the shanty style. I'm more likely to talk about the shanty style because that's where all this kind of started for me, this whole, you know, journey of mine, whatever, to try to become much more of a field player. I've talked about the guy that taught my roommate and I how to play with that particular style, and that was during that era, the shanty era. So you will hear me talk about the shanty style. And I told myself, good scratch, Dave. Good shot and good scratch. I told myself several times, man, I would like to play like I played back then. And sure, part of that is I'd like to play as well as I played back then. That was, you know, when I played my best. But more than that, I would also just like to play with that style. Being able to give everything over to my inner pool player, and whatever I was doing physically, do that again. You know, problem is, this was all back before I paid any attention to that kind of stuff. In a lot of cases, I don't know what I was doing back then, physical style wise. I just don't. But because I have been playing since then and trying a bunch of different things all the time, every now and then I will come across something that just seems familiar to me. Like, hey, that seems familiar to me. And that's what I want to talk about here. There are some things that I remember about the shanty style. So again, for me was the playing by feel, letting my inner pool player shoot, letting Obi shoot, however I wanted to term it, however I wanted to term it, that's what it was. It was, the shanty style was the physical side of that. The mental side of that was just be the ball, whatever the hell you want to say, crack smoking hippies. But there are some things that to me seem familiar. That's all I talk about. So the first thing, and this is something I remember people telling me, they would tell me when I was shooting well, that I would never take my eyes off the cue ball. I would be walking around the table and never taking my eyes off the cue ball. And I've actually mentioned that in a couple of videos too. I think that helps my concentration, or helps clear my mind, maybe is a little bit better term. I'm not thinking about pretty girl or talking to the damn camera, whatever. We're focusing on that cue ball. Now, of course, I'm going to glance up at the object ball and things like that, but it's just a glance. It really is just a glance. And then back to the cue ball. This has always been a very good shot, Dave. You didn't know I knew that shot, did you? Neither. That's been a very nice thing for me, and that's something that people have told me about back then. Well, Dave must be shooting good because he hasn't stopped looking at the cue ball for an hour, that type of deal. The other thing that people told me about the olden days was that I would take one practice drill. At most, I would take one practice drill. I remember them telling me that, and I remember thinking, yeah, that's probably just because I'm not concentrating very well. And as I've mentioned before, sometimes I don't feel like I can concentrate through like 2 entire practice strokes or whatever. But I've been shooting the last couple of days, and I'm not sure that's all it was. And so that's another thing I want to talk about here is 1 or 0 practice strokes. I truly believe that that's what my inner pool player wants. He wants me, my conscious self, to butt the hell out and let him shoot. What I'm talking about is when I'm up here and I'm getting, more or less on the shot line in my alignment, whatever, and I'm bend over, at that point, I'm supposed to butt out and let my inner pool player shoot. And that means I'm not going to be down here sawing away at my thumb with practice strokes, possibly convincing myself that I'm in alignment when I'm really not, maybe honing my body into certain motion that may or not be what's correct. I don't know what's correct. My inner pool player knows what's correct. That's, the lessons that I was taught and I came to believe. So one practice stroke is mainly just to set the distance, I guess, and let my pool player know, okay, we did that right, and now we can shoot the ball in. So that's cool. The other thing, this is something that I actually just came up with like last night. I kind of knew it, but I guess I hadn't thought about it enough, or put it into words for myself. But the thing is, let's see, over there I'm looking at my bookshelf. I bet I have 200 pool books, instructional books on pool. I know for a fact that I have about 5,000 DVDs and videos and stuff. For the longest time, if it's been for sale about pool, I've bought it. Support the industry, and plus I'm interested in stuff like that. Most of the pool videos and books that are of an instructional nature talk about, well, stroke straight. I've said that, like, stroke straight. There's some of the physical styles that I use, the aiming methods and systems that I use, that a straight stroke is kind of built into it. I know I've talked about the pivoting system. The pivoting system, in theory, once you get down here and pivot in, as long as you stroke straight, you don't care anything at all about the object ball, the cue ball, or anything. The straight stroke is a part of it, an integral part of it. But that's not what I'm trying to talk about in this video. What I'm trying to talk about in this video is letting my inner pool player shoot. And that's where a straight stroke is not a requirement. It's one of those, it would be nice if I had one, but if I don't, and my inner pool player, who's in charge of shooting the shot, decides that I need a little bit of backhand right English or backhand left English, then let him do it. Do not force myself to stroke straight, because by God, the books say I'm going to stroke straight. I'm only getting close up here. I'm only getting close down here. At this point, my inner pool player may decide that this direction right here is not the proper direction to put that 8 in. And who am I to argue with, Obi-Wan Moscone? Not when I'm trying to do this play-by-feel stuff. I just have to be able to let go of my own ego and all that and let him shoot it. And if that means that I come down on this shot and I backhand some English on, then that's what that means. In that particular case right there, well, probably because I was talking to the camera, I didn't do that. I stroked straight. That's not what I just said I'm supposed to do. What I just said I'm supposed to do is I'm just here now, but I'm going to give the shot to my inner pool player, and he's going to go, okay, we're going to miss the 8 anyway. Intermission, I hate pool. All right, so I'm going to make it this time, because I'm going to shut the frick up and just make the damn shot to prove to myself that I can still make a shot. Yay! Yay! All right, so this is what I don't know if I'm wording any of this properly or not. If I'm going to shoot a shot and I end up, looking at it on camera or whatever, and my stroke's going like this or whatever, but the ball went in, then I could not possibly care less if my stroke went this way or this way, whatever. If I put some backhand English on a shot, or even some of that swiping English I've talked about, I could not care less. If the ball goes in, and I felt like I did it right, I gave the shot over to my inner pool player, and that's what my inner pool player used on the shot, great. Tough to let go. It's tough to let go of, what little formal education in pool I've had with the videos and the books and sometimes one-on-one. It's hard to let go of that desire or that thought that if I'm not right here, then all is lost. If I don't get 100% perfect alignment, then I may as well have stayed home. It's hard to let go of that. But for this particular style, for letting my inner pool player shoot, this isn't nearly as important. I still want to be close, but close is all that it takes. If I let him have the shot and let him be in charge of where that cue ball gets hit, along with the speed and all that, then all I have to be on the alignment side of things is close. I just can't be worrying about, am I still stroking straight? How long am I? Anything physical. Once I'm bent over, and once I guess I've done that one practice stroke, then it doesn't get under 6. Then it doesn't matter anymore, because it's not me shooting anymore. And this is the attitude that I'm trying to have, and I used to have it pretty well. I used to be pretty good at it. Of course, I was a lot younger, a lot better eyes, had confidence to die for. I had not quite learned that there's such a thing as a hard shot in pool. You hear that about beginners quite a bit. The newer players that are playing really well, you're like, yeah, well, they don't know how to miss yet. They haven't learned that yet. I've certainly learned it by now. As have, most people after probably 24, I don't know ages. Some people are really just quite talented. I've been watching a pay-per-view on this New Orleans tournament, and how old is Federer? Federer's like 21, I think. Damn, he's good. He hasn't learned how to miss yet. And even when he learns how to miss, he may just decide, that doesn't sound like any fun. I'm not going to do that. He may very well just decide that. It wouldn't surprise me a bit. I remember back. Oh, it was when Shane first started playing, or when he came of age and started showing up at Derby City and stuff like that. And I always had the impression that the first time Shane Van Boening ever made 3 balls in a row, people were already calling him the best player that ever lived. I think that was premature. I still think that was premature. But they were all ready to just, build a statue, whatever. But anyway, back then, people like Danny DiLiberto would be commentating on one of Shane's matches, and he'd go, "Yeah, the bad thing about this is we got to fade playing this guy for the next 40 years, And that was a true statement. People still struggle playing him. I think Federer's going to be a hell of a lot. I think Federer's going to be a hell of a lot more dangerous than Shane ever was. And sure, that statement might cost me some fans too. But that's what I think. I think right now, at 21, Federer is the best 21-year-old pool player that I've ever even heard of, and I think that might be fairly unanimous. The people that I watch on YouTube and stuff like that, nobody's seen anything like the way this guy can shoot at that age. What was I getting at? I was getting at the elements of the Shanty style that I seem to remember that are helping me to piece together the Shanty style. So I've talked about a couple of them. Another one is I seem to do a really good job back then of seeing this shot, seeing the entire shot, and not just seeing like this shot line right here. I would see the entire shot, and that would be including the path the object ball is going to take, the path the cue ball is going to take, depending on what I'm going to do with it. But I would see that entire shot appear. Okay, once I bent over and took that practice stroke, though, it was all up to my inner pool player. I just wanted him to make sure. I wanted him to know, okay, the 6 is supposed to go in, and the cue ball is supposed to draw back. Oh, okay. We shoot it. In theory, we make the 6, form it out to a camera. So they're all cameras back then. I ever mention that, hey, pool? I would even go so far at sometimes to have a good enough imagination that's like I could see the line that the 6 is going to take. And I could see the line that the cue ball was going to take. If my imagination was good enough, I could even see that. So that'd be even more information for that inner pool player of mine. To be like, hey, send the 6 on that line. Send the 6 on this line. This is what's supposed to happen. And, sometimes it worked. It seemed to work a heck of a lot more often than it should have. Basically, just being a weird thing. So now that I've talked about lines, let's talk about some other lines. This has always been really weird to me, and I am almost certainly going to miss these shots, okay? But back then, and even still these days, when my imagination is working for me, and I guess the phase of the moon is correct or whatever, if I want to kick this 8 into that pocket, I could sometimes see a line to shoot the cue ball along with bottom inside at firm speed. And if I did that an awful lot of times, I would put the ball in or hit it at least. And again, close to hitting. That's it. I'm bad at examples, and this is a pretty messed up example of what this is. But if I could find that line, if my concentration is working for me, I get to the point where I can see it, and then shoot the cue ball along it. I think the cue ball went back exactly the same place. This is just something else I remember from back then. The shanty was a bar, so 3.5 by 7 bar tables with big pockets. It's easier to do things like that. But I can be down here, and a lot of times, just messing around, I can kick balls in or hit balls that maybe I shouldn't be able to hit, naturally. Just by seeing the stupid line, which I don't see right now. I'm kind of going by memory on where it was. Anyway, I think I'm rambling now. Those are the things that I remember so far about, the way I used to play back in the day when I was playing, my best or my most playing by feel. I didn't want any pool player do it. I want to get that back, that physical style back. And obviously I would like to shoot that well again. I don't know if that's in the cards for me because old eyes and all that stuff. But you never know. Well, plus I've learned how to miss by now. And back then I really hadn't. But it's been something that's been nagging at me for a long time, that I dropped in ability really fairly quickly once I moved back here. Once I left Seattle and moved back here. I spent 6 months in Memphis, but that was just all kind of a blur. Once I moved back here, I became a mechanical player. Now, I felt like out of necessity, when I got the 9-foot diamond, I felt like I needed to be more orthodox and more mechanical and all that. And it's been one of the things that's kind of nagged at me, that maybe I gave up on what had been working really well for me for a decade and a half. I gave up on it too quickly. And so I'm trying to correct that, better late than never, I guess. It's only been 30 years. But I'm trying to correct that and give Obi, a second chance, another chance that he should have had back in the late 90s when I moved back here. But he didn't get it. They didn't get what he deserved to get. So I'm trying to fix that. And I guess that's this video. So for the physical stuff, if you want to watch that, Dr. Dave on YouTube, a bunch of great stuff. And for more of the mental stuff, if you want that, David Sapoulos, I think his stuff was on YouTube. So that's it. Bye.